Just a quick update before the trick-or-treaters come. Looks like we had a pretty quiet day. Remember around 0200, started slowing down the solar wind. Click the box down here lower right so you get the full screen. You can see these numbers. So it was pretty quiet for most of the day, as you can see. Then come around 1845. 6:45 p.m. UTC, so that would be like 1:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Jumped up to 799. Watch the arrows. 962, 706, 1099, 1176, 866, 946, 906, 958, 1128, 955, 1008, 1031, 1417. That's the highest one I've seen so far on this run. 1133, 1347, 1389, 1071, 11, 1479, 1367. So as you can see, we might be in for another rough night. We had 6 hours starting last night around 20 UTC. This one looks like it might be starting a little bit earlier at 1845 UTC. Now we'll pull this through for you. You can see all the pressure building behind the Earth and all the electron energy. You can see it's all bleeding in around here. These are the radiation belts. Nothing too crazy to look at here, I guess, except for all this whited out area, which would suggest to me that that is electron counts that are even beyond what this thing can measure at 4,000 MeV, or 4,000 keV, or 4 MeV. Got the blacks and the purples showing up. They're extremely high electron counts. And then you got this whited out area inside this false bow shock. There's the line. When I'm talking about false bow shock, I mean this thing that sets up out here to try to ward off this plasma energy. And then here's the polar cap field lines closing up, bucking up, getting red, drawn back to the Earth, building energy from the Earth's magnetosphere, or the dynamo inside the Earth core, and then it expels plasma energy. So yeah, that's at 1845. So we'll just pull this through real quick. You can see it's getting squared out. So that's a lot of energy back there when this thing squares out, in my humble opinion. There it is. There's the ejection at 1905-39. You can see it there. Whoosh, blowing out all that plasma. You see these field lines are extending way out here. These are Earth radii. The reason they have a minus behind in front of it is because it's behind the Earth, and these would be all in front of the Earth, so there's no minus, and there's no need for a plus when you have a minus showing over here. So anyway, each one of these, it represents about 4,000 miles. I don't know why they got minus 20 here. Oh yeah, I guess that's right. So that's minus 20 Earth radii. 1, 2, 3, 4. Since it's to a larger scale, it's not the same scale as this one. These are all single 4,000 mile Earth radii, roughly 3,959 miles. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So normally the bow shock's out around 10 Earth radii. In this case, these represent 5 Earth radii. Each one of these will 5 10, 15, 20. So you got 100 Earth radii, and this closed field line's extending way beyond that. So it's out there at least 400,000 miles. We've seen it before like that. So I'll just play it through real quick. I pulled up MLSO, Mauna Loa Solar Observatory. See if we could get something for today. They had yesterday X'd out and today as well. The ACE ground tracking station. See it for the last 4 days here. 48 hours and 6 hours. Same as I showed you this morning, had a couple hours at 2200. Then it looks like today it moved back to around 1900, 19 something. So it's just a little tiny piece of 1900. So basically that thing has disappeared from the blocking the ACE data relays. And this is the ACE for the last 3 days, I believe. Yeah, 3 days. So you can see there's the little gap there, little gap there, both around 2200 hours, couple hour gap. And then this one, you're really not even seeing it. It's so small, it's less than an hour. It's maybe a 10-minute, 15-minute gap. You can see we're still getting some of this splashed out effect, which I thought was perhaps from a magnetosphere interfering with the solar wind density, temperature, and speed collection at ACE. That was just my theory, but as you can see, there really is very little of it anymore, whereas before, if you remember, it was splashed out pretty good. See it all splashed out there? So apparently maybe a field line straight up here from that big planet that passed, unless there's, I wouldn't say there's another one on the way in because we're not getting any gaps. So that would be my conjecture. Discover there's no gaps. So that big planet that was blocking ACE for up to 6 months plus, which finally passed after producing some 8 to 9 hour gaps for the last couple of weeks prior to its passing ACE on October 16th. It's been headed toward Earth ever since, and this is October 31st, so it's been 2 weeks plus a day maybe. And I don't think that has anything to do with the solar wind speed, but I could be wrong. It's all being measured from inside here on these geosynchronous GOES 13 and 14 satellites. It's not coming from the space weather data. As you can see, solar wind speed over here is very low. Normal is 400 to 700 kilometers per second. This is even lower than it was this morning. It's dropping into the low 350, low 325 for most of the run, between 300 and 325. Density's up a little high though. Regular density, normal is 4 to 6 atoms per centimeter, cubic centimeter. So you can see these density numbers, 814, 991. I mean, they're not extremely high, but I think what's happening, if I may reiterate, is the solar wind pressure coming from Nemesis. Of course, you know, it's not just targeted to the Earth, it's coming from all back here, and it's affecting the solar wind density coming toward Earth from our sun. And at some point, backing it up, not sure. Still getting these fluctuations of things hitting the magnetopause, which the solar wind, which is all steady as she goes, very low, doesn't really jive. So I'm still going to say, see how the magnetopause keeps getting bounced back and forth? So sometimes I think when it gets smaller when it pulls in toward the planet. That's when the planet's getting ready to make a big ejection, like back here. That's at 1905. Let's see if it does it. Yeah, see how it pulled in? There's 1845, and the stuff's here. It's starting to back in. Try to get ready. Well, let's see if it does it here. We're getting something on the front side, like so it's getting ready to make the ejection. And I guess it's pretty much, there it is, pulled in big time there, 1913. So that was right after the ejection. So anyway, that's my theory. We got field lines from that big planet coming in, and they're stacking up in front of the planet, and also sending fluctuations in the solar wind speed and solar density hitting the front of our magnetopause, thereby causing these different coloration effects coming in, different gradients, and on the magnetopause also bouncing that around a little bit. You can see all these field lines. Normally there should only be 9, which we got 1 sun, 9 planets, so interplanetary magnetic field lines, generally speaking, are direct connects from the sun to each of the planets. And that's it. So with Nemesis in the picture, plus 7 planets, that's 2 suns plus times 16 planets, that's 32 field lines. And we're getting a lot of field lines piling up in front of the planet, so I'm going to say that that definitely indicates a planet out here in front of the Earth, which is pretty close by, to have all those field lines piling up in there. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it shouldn't be too long. I can't really speculate on how long it's going to take for this big planet to get to Earth once it passed ACE at this L1 Lagrange point. And then this is links underneath in the description box. Also pull up the solar ham space weather tutorial. So here's ACE, 930,000 miles in front of the Earth, the L1 Lagrange point. Basically, it's like a saddle, and it goes around like this, along with the Discover satellite. But it stays pretty much in this fixed position out there in front of the planet. It's like an early warning system for solar wind or solar mass, coronal mass ejections, solar flares, X flares, and whatnot, given between a 15 to 60-minute warning to our planet. So this big planet, it was out here somewhere, and it was putting big gaps on the ACE solar wind data for at least 6 months. There were 4 to 5 hour gaps. Then as it got closer, it became an 8-9 hour gap, and then it finally passed ACE on October 16th. So this is 930,000 miles away from Earth, and it's heading in our direction. I would submit to you, being that 6 months plus it was heading straight toward ACE. I don't know why it would change course now. Okay, real quick, here's the RAM slider, coloradostate.edu. Got the Himawari 8 pulled up for today, or today. Well, their times are different, but 1350 UTC plus 11 hours, so that makes it almost 11 o'clock, 1050 UTC in Melbourne, Australia. And you can see there it is, the planet. So we got one planet that's inside the 22,236 geosynchronous orbit, because that's where the Himawari 8 satellite is, and the GOES 16 satellites are weather satellites. That passed around same time. That's weird. October 16th, October 17th, that's when I caught it. So anyway, running out of time. Looks like a rough night space weather wise. God bless, peace, and I'm out.